and welcome to the Summer Internship webinar. My name is Michael Plauger, and I am the Graduate Intern for Family Engagement. Presenting for us today will be Dan Rice, the Director of Career Services. Dan?
The real important thing about internships, a lot of employers, as I said, 2/3 want internships before they hire students. A lot of the employers now are actually hiring students in internships, and that's the only way they fill their needs. And so they'll hire the interns and a number of them, and then they'll select from that pool as to fill their needs. The other thing I want to say is that we're going to talk about the whole job search, not just the internship job search, because they kind of blend together. And we have a lot of resources to help your students to become successful in obtaining internships. Bad things happen to good candidates, and our office is to help students overcome those bad things. Employers make a lot of rules. They're not as objective as I would like for them to be at times. In fact, they're quite opposite. They're very, very subjective, and they make these rules. And so the best qualified candidates a lot of times don't get selected for internships because maybe their resume wasn't representative of them. Maybe their interviewing skills were not representative of them. Maybe their references were not selected properly. Maybe they didn't trust properly for the internship interview, et cetera, et cetera. And really none of those things have any what I call bona fide occupational qualifications in relations to their ability to do the job. But employers have these job search biases. So we provide a lot of services and counseling with students, and I enjoy doing the webinars, I enjoy doing class presentations, but the best way to help your student or students is a one-on-one visit to the Career Services office so we can tailor their internship search or job search specifically according to their needs. Okay, I mentioned 2/3 of the employers are wanting internships. I'm also going to throw in that a 3.0 GPA is also kind of a requirement by about 2/3 of the employers out there. So we're needing both the internships and we're needing a high GPA, or at least a 3.0 GPA. And that's not to say all employers, but that's a 2/3, and that's a pretty good number. Okay, I'm going to mention we've got the Career Services web page up, and a couple of things on the web page that I want to point out. First of all, is we have practice mock interview every fall and every spring for our students for internships. And employers that come and do these practice interviews are also coming to check out students, and they actually have internships to offer and or full-time jobs. So we like to have the students participate in those more than once to get connected with employers, to network with employers, but most importantly, to learn how to interview so they're not eliminated because of their poor interviewing skills. I've had students that have come to the mock interviews and actually have their assigned day and time, and then notice that there might be an opening with an employer in the room, and they'll go over and ask the employer if they can have a second mock interview because they understand the importance of winning the interview. The best qualified candidates don't get hired. Those that know how to play the game are the ones that get hired. So a lot of good candidates, but not the best candidates, get hired because they know how to interview. So we provide that every fall and every spring, and I encourage students to participate at least once, if not 2 or 3 times. Then the next day, we have our annual Fall Career Internship Day, and there'll be 70 to 80 to 85 employers there wanting to talk to students about internships. So the best time to get an internship is to come to the career fair in the fall, and our next scheduled internship career day is on September the 14th. And I know a lot of students say, well, I'm working or I'm going to class, I can't get away. Well, all students are excused from class to attend the career internship day. So there's absolutely no reason why they shouldn't invest that time. I tell students that I can guarantee them 100 interviews before they ever leave the university for real jobs and or internships, and they come to you, they come right on campus, and they want to visit with students. And the majority of the students, or excuse me, the majority of the employers that attend the career day, they really are not too concerned about the major. They're wanting to meet the students and see what the student is all about, their personality, their drive, their work ethic. and half of the students, or excuse me, half of the employers will have major specific internships. And on our webpage, you can scroll and check it out if you want after the webinar today. And several of those employers might still be seeking interns. I doubt there'll be many, but it'll give your students a chance to see what's out there and kind of plan for the future. It's really nice to have employers coming to the campus to interview with the students, but if the students don't dress up properly, if they don't come prepared somewhat, it may be a waste of time. But I want to back up a minute. I said that all students are excused to attend the career day, and they are. They need to visit with the employer, with their faculty 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time, 2 weeks minimum, and inquire about needs to make up classroom time, whether it's a makeup test or assignments, so the faculty know that the student's genuinely interested in attending the career day, and the faculty will grant that time. It's a given. We have some students that leave for football, basketball, all kinds of events, and they're excused for that. They're totally excused for the career internship day. So I encourage all students to participate in those days, even if they don't have a specific internship or organization they're interested in at that time. They need to get comfortable with meeting employers, with talking to employers, being interviewed by employers, and networking with these employers, because many times an outstanding student will attend the career day, internship day, and the employer will recognize them and share that information with a neighbor or colleague, and so on and so forth. So it's just an absolutely perfect time, and in my opinion, the best time for students to obtain internships. And we repeat these activities in the fall and in the spring. So interview in the fall, get an internship for the following spring or summer. Interview in the spring. If you didn't get one that you wanted in the fall, repeat it in the spring. And employers are coming specifically for those reasons. Okay, another way for students to get connected is through our Careers for Tigers program. And we have a registration program where students spend about 5 minutes registering with our office, and then they'll be asked to upload a resume into this Careers for Tigers program. And we literally have hundreds of thousands of employers, both regionally, locally, and nationally, that have registered with us, that have used our services, and are looking for students for internships and full-time jobs. We post those internships and we post those full-time jobs for students to view, and employers have access to the web resumes. These are employers that have hired our students. These are employers that we screen and select. These employers have 24-hour access to these resumes. So we encourage students to put their resume out there for employers to view and then contact them directly. Our office provides resume assistance, and we have resume assistance on our webpage. Students can click on Getting Prepared, and it shows sample resumes for every major on campus. And we also encourage students to let us help them prepare their resume. They email it to us, set up appointments. We visit with them. Once the resume's really looking good, then we'll help them upload it into Careers for Tigers, and then the employers view those. We don't want the students to just put in a resume, say their freshman, sophomore year, and let it set. We need to have the students update their resume every semester so we can continue to add value. Many employers like to see more than one internship on a resume. So a student gets an internship at the end of their sophomore year, puts it on their resume, adds value into their junior year, put another internship on their resume, it adds that much more value. Students have multiple internships are going to have multiple full-time, really, really good job opportunities. So Careers for Tigers on-campus interviews for internships, resume referrals for internships, job listings for internships. There are just tons and tons of opportunities out there. Now I want to move to our internship handout. We actually have an internship handout that we have for students, and it's a PDF on our webpage that you can view and look at it, but it has all kinds of information in this internship guide, what to do in terms of resumes, letters, application letters, It has sites. It has all kinds of links that are prepared for students to check out. But we also, and I would encourage you, it's a short read. It really will answer a lot of questions. We call it our internship search guide. It'll answer a lot of specific questions that you might have, what it takes to get ready for internships. Now I'm going to back up and we're going to go back to our internship page, and we're going to look at the internship links. If you look at those, the first one that's listed is Careers for Tigers. And then we also have other internship sites on there. We have on there Indeed.com. It's on the page. It's about in the middle of the page. And Indeed.com is probably one of the better job search sites out there. I kind of like to compare it to Walmart. Not that I'm supporting Walmart, but Walmart, you can go get toothpaste, you can get tires, you can get bread, whatever. Well, Indeed.com is a site that you can that gathers all of the jobs that are listed out on Monster, HireMe.com, Internships.com, Career Builder, whatever, and it pulls them in usually within a day or less. So let's say we're interested in a marketing internship. So we would want you to just type in marketing internships, and then you list where you want to go. Let's say you're open to Kansas, and we'll put in Kansas just to give you an example. And when we put in Kansas, you're going to see pages after pages of internships in Kansas for marketing interns of all kinds. And I said earlier, it's a little late, but if you look at that site, there are still a number of them. You click next, and there's another page. And you click next, and there's another page. So that's a pretty broad Kansas site. But you can go for Colorado, you can go for Oklahoma, Nebraska, New York City, or New York State if you want. But if you bring it back and say you want to do that for, let's say, a smaller area, just say Wichita, Kansas. And so you put in marketing, and then you put in Wichita, Kansas. So you can do that for any location. And the wider your search, obviously, the more opportunities. So if you want to put in Hays, Kansas, Salina, Kansas. So it's a really good site, and I would encourage you to check it out to see what's in there too. Obviously, more in Kansas City than there would be in Hays, but I like that site. And so we can go back to the internship page, and any of those, feel free to check them out and look at the types of internships that are out there. Now, with all that said, with our Careers for Tigers internship listings, Indeed.com, attending the Career Internship Day and literally having 100 employers in the fall and spring, interviews and all of that, and you're still not seeing the organization or the internship that turns you on or gets you excited, then my suggestion, and I talked to a group of freshmen this morning, and I call them sophomores now because they're closer to being sophomores, but I mentioned to them that if they're interested in a certain field or a certain area that they would like an internship, they need to contact those organizations on their own. Don't wait for the advertisement. Don't wait for the vacancy to be listed. Contact those organizations, introduce themselves. Hi, I'm Dan, I'm a freshman or a sophomore, and I'm inquiring about internship opportunities with your organization. Who do I need to visit with? And that organization will then say, we don't do internships, or send us a resume. We'll do a telephone interview. We'll do a Skype interview. Whatever the case, you'll get some feedback. And so if you have a dozen or 15, they might say, well, we don't do freshman, sophomore interns. We want a little bit more based on your resume in terms of courses in your major. We prefer juniors. It may be that kind of an answer, but at least you've got a connection. And the other thing is, you'll see on Indeed, you'll see on Career Builder, you'll see on a lot of sites, you'll see on Careers for Tigers, lots of vacancies, but I encourage students to realize that, or understand, I encourage students to understand the fact that the tip of the iceberg is the sites that you'll see vacancies listed. 80 to 85% of the jobs are never, ever posted. So the best jobs are gained through networking. You can network at career days, mock interview days, but you can network by getting involved in volunteer activities, community service, leadership roles on campus, activities, and you spread out your networking. So the average employer that is 15 or 16, they don't advertise a lot. They fill their positions just in time. Their internships, a lot of companies, organizations, you contact them, and they get excited because here's an aspiring student that says, hey, they're interested in doing an internship. You know, we haven't really thought about it, but we need to talk about that. Come on in, let's visit. The personality is awesome, the student is awesome, and an internship is born. You'd be amazed at how many opportunities like that occur. So I'm saying we want the students to spread their net as far as they can. And remember that people hire people. They don't hire resumes, they don't hire cover letters, they hire people. So we want to get our students connected. That's why we do the mock interviews, that's why we do the career days. But if that doesn't work, talk to organizations, get your name out there, have your personal brand out there so that people know who you are and you connect through networking. Okay, we're going to go back to our Getting Prepared page on our Career Services webpage where it talks about resumes, interviewing, and that page we have, as I mentioned, we have resumes for every major. We have cover letters out there. We have interviewing handout. And then we also have on that Get Prepared, we have a job search handbook. And I'd like to go through that job search handbook just for a minute or so and show you the resources on that in that job search handbook. If you go scroll a couple of pages, like page 4, you'll see on that page that we have our, I guess it's page 3, we have, again, What's Careers for Tigers, so it gives you a chance, or the students, to review what it all provides for you. And then the next page is what I really like to share with students because it's a job search checklist for liberal arts students. And an employer is not going to be interested in hiring a student for an internship if the student doesn't know what they want, if the student doesn't know who they are, what their values are, interest, abilities, and talents, and they have to be able to convey those to employers, so they need to know who they are. And if a student is undecided and is not able to answer those questions, they can visit with us in our office, or they can go to Academic Advising Career Exploration, and we'll help the student identify some things they're excited about, so then they're ready for the next step. And then we also have check marks for where you want to work, whether you want to work locally, out of state, wherever. That's another place for check marks. And then you have to get ready for the job search, and then you have to start searching. So in order for a student to get a check mark in every one of those pages, they need to spend some time with us in Career Services. I've had freshmen that have been able to fill those check marks out, every one of them, before they even completed their freshman year. And that's a good thing. And then we'll have an internship in that summer. And agriculture firms and certain firms will offer internships for freshmen because they've had a lifetime of internships by working on a farm or something like that. But there are other organizations that do that too. But as I said earlier, the majority are going to be between sophomore, junior, senior year. But those things need to be accomplished, and that's where we can help getting prepared. And it needs to be done now. Unfortunately, I'll have seniors that come in and can't get through the first section of knowing themselves, and that's not a good thing. So we want your son or daughter to get started. Okay, we're going to scroll a little bit farther through the job search handbook. There's a resume checklist that we'd like to have you check on. The resume samples that we have out there will cover all the areas, but the checklist is good. There's a reference page. It talks about how to select references because most employers are going to be checking your students for references. And so we've got a really good page there to talk about that. And then we go on to the next page. There's a couple more pages, a little bit more. And then it talks about dressing for success. And I can tell you 70% of the employers will expect students to dress up for their career days and mock interview days and real interviews. So if you want to eliminate 70% of your competition, I said 70% of the employers, employers expect that dress for success. If you don't dress you're out of luck. If you do dress, you can eliminate 70% of your competition. That's one of those job search biases I mentioned before. So we'll scroll through what to wear, unlocking the secrets of networking, go on through career fair essentials, really help students to know everything they need to do before, during, and after a career fair. We'll go on, we'll go farther, getting hired. On page 11 or whatever it is, 17, excuse me, it's called Getting Hired. These are the top 10 interview questions. If students want to be ready for those interviews for internships, they need to know those top 10 interview questions. And the number one question is the most difficult, and we have a worksheet so your son or daughter can learn how to answer that number one question. And then we'll go on. And then there's some behavioral-based questions, because employers are going to ask students questions about what they've done in their past, what makes them special. If they've been successful in the past, what can they do to be successful in the future? And if they answer those questions properly, past behavior predicts future success. Now, there's a real fine line in these behavioral-based interview questions. The employers are going to try to see how well you bridge the gap between confidence and humility. And the questions are going to be centered around, yes, they want confidence, but they also want humility on the part of the students. So they're going to be asking questions similar to that. And so there's a whole bunch of questions on there. And then it goes more questions, and then more questions, and then there's telephone interview. And I hope that you'll read through that, because telephone interviews are getting to be very important. We have information on our webpage too for Skype interviews. That's becoming very important and very popular too. So that's really quite a bit of the stuff. And I want to leave a few minutes if there's any questions, because I have a tendency to not stop and keep talking. If there aren't any questions, I can cover a couple other things. So I'm opening it up for any questions.
Yes, let's believe if you go to the top of the page up here, and there should be a question and answer area. So if you click on there, you should be able to type in your question. It doesn't look like we have any right now, so I think we are good to go.
Okay, one other comment I'd like to make is we have a person in our office. Her name is Millie Schuster, and she has worked for many, many years in helping students get internships. A lot of times we get our jobs postings and then we get jobs called in or emailed in from employers, and then she posts them on our Careers for Tigers site. But she takes a step further. She emails all the students that are registered with Careers for Tigers. So if your son or daughter gets an email from Career Services, it's a good thing, because it's talking about an internship or a special job that we know is in their major field, or alerting them of an event that's coming on that will be a way for them to connect with employers. But Millie Schuster does an excellent job of identifying students and internships, and then the students come into our office, and then she spends time with them, helping them search further on to locate some really cool internships for them. So we use all the resources on the web, but the best way to help your son or daughter, in my opinion, is one-on-one, so we can focus on their specific needs. Okay, well, that's all I have for this evening. And if there aren't any questions, again, thank you very much for the opportunity, and we look forward to working with your family.
Thank you very much for attending the webinar tonight. Well, we've been recording the session tonight, and so if you would like to view this later, it will be up on YouTube. And if you do have any questions afterwards, you can send those questions to the email that I sent the invite to you, and I will make sure we get those to Dan. And if we don't have anything else, I will be good to go. Have a great night, and go Tigers.